Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Pits of Motor Chaos. This is Dave, and in just a minute, our special guest, drag racer Joe Barry, on the line with me. So let me give him a call and let's get this interview going. Hold on.
Hello, this is Joe.
Hey, Joe, you're live in the Pits of Motor Chaos. How you doing tonight, buddy?
Good. How are you, sir?
Not bad at all. So how you been doing with the crazy year we've been having with the pandemic and all?
Well, it started out pretty good. We went to California to do a show out there that was basically a show drag racing now and then, and thought it was going to be a good year, and it's kind of just dwindled down to nothing for us.
Yeah. So how many events you usually hit a year drag racing?
We usually between 6 and 8 of the bigger events. A lot of the stuff we do is the durability type races, so like Hot Rod Drag Week, things like that, where we're driving and racing the car. And then we do just some other things that with Hot Rod Magazine, like the Roadkill deal. It's in Detroit at Woodward. Just things like that. Not really clash racing anymore. Just some things that are fun to do, I guess you could say.
Now, do you do any car shows with that car?
Yeah. More than I'm not really a car show guy, and car shows always are like the first thing early in the damn morning, and I'm not. I like getting up about 9, and by then half the shows are over, or it's past entry. So if it's an afternoon type show, I'm all for it.
Yeah, because I'm sure people love to see that beautiful car of yours.
It's pretty beat these days. Years ago when it was originally done, it showed pretty good, but now it's just it's a 100-footer or a good picture car. You don't see all the flaws in it, I guess you could say.
Now that's a Bel Air?
It's actually a 210.
Okay.
Which for that year of cars, it's a rare one out of the Tri-Fi's. It's a pretty rare car because they only made right around 18,000 of the 210 hardtops.
So what year is that car?
1956.
And how long have you had the car now?
I've had the car since 78. So 22, 40 some years.
Now, what do you got under the hood that car?
It's a 598 big block Chevy, twin turbo car, electronic fuel injection, just everything, up to date, I guess you could say, from what we used to run when we had it with the nitrous motor and just carburetors.
So what's the fastest ET you've had with that car?
In the current setup on a street tire, it's been 680.
Not bad at all. So now let me rewind the clock with you, Joe. And how did you get into drag racing?
I don't. It's been so long. I think as a kid, we would ride our bikes out to the drag strip, and I think it becomes an addiction between the race gas, the sound of the motors, because when you go to the racetrack, you can feel it in your body, and it just gets your blood going. So it kind of, I think it was an addiction when we were young, and you just kind of gradually, build a car, buy a car, and just kind of keep on going as you make more money, and you just keep building the car to progress to where you are, or where I am today, I guess.
Now, did you go to the track and watch drag racing or watch drag racing on TV when you were young?
No, I can't say I did. We would ride our bikes out to the local track, and we'd ride out there, and it was a long ways to ride, so we'd always try to find someone to give us a ride back to town, but back then it was just 8th Mile, and we didn't, a 7-second car in the 8th Mile was like a rocket ship, and, we'd get so excited, and, now you come 30 some years and you see how fast the cars are now in the 8th Mile. But, when we're kids, you don't know any different, and it's cool.
Right. So what year did you start drag racing?
I started the car I have now. I didn't race it until, let's see, it was 1989. I took the car. It had a small block in it, and we raced it at the Super Chevy Show down in Phoenix, Arizona. 89. It was first time, and I think it ran, fastest went was 1060, 1065 back then.
Now, did you drag race in any other cars before this one?
No, that was the first time I think I ever, trying to think if we ever, I may have took my driver. I had a Mustang in high school that I may have taken to like the high school drags. Prior to that, I'm almost sure I did, and it was a 16, 17 second car, if I remember correctly. But up until, the Super Chevy, we had never raced like a car that had a race engine or performance engine and nitrous and things like that.
Now, can you remember how your experience was the first time going down the track?
I don't remember. I remember being excited to do it. We had that first year we did it, it rained at the track, and we drove, 12 hours from where we live to go there, and they actually asked people to come and drive the track with their drivers or their tow vehicles. And I remember driving up and down with my race car because I wanted to drive it so bad. So I'm driving up and down the track trying to help them drive it with the car. Which, you look back at that thinking, well, that probably wasn't very smart because it was just a race car at that point. But I wanted to drive it so bad that I was out there driving the track.
Yeah, I've seen them driving track with jet cars before. So how, were your mom and dad supportive of you when you were drag racing?
My dad thought it was the biggest waste of money. I don't think he did not care for me spending the money on the car whatsoever. And my mom scared her to death. So neither of my parents ever seen me race the car. Not really had any interest whatsoever with it. So it was more my passion. And, then my wife, of course, she's into it as much as I am, if not more anymore. And she always drove me to go racing and things like that. So that always kept me motivated.
Yeah, and then you got your son in the drag racing?
Yeah, he obviously he rides with me during drag week and that kind of thing, and he works on the car when we're home. And it's kind of, the bugs kind of bit him. We'll see how far he goes. I try to get him in the junior dragsters, but he just never had that interest. But we'll see. We have another car here that I was going to race for drag week, a lightweight car, and I told him if he wanted to put it together, he could race that car. So we'll see where he goes with that.
So now, Joe, after all the years of drag racing now, what still keeps you passionate about doing it?
I would say the people at this point. I enjoy going to the races, but it's as much about the people as actually hopping in the car and racing it anymore. We've met some just incredible people over the years and made a lot of friends because of it. And I think that's probably, I enjoy that, seeing people as much as making the passes anymore.
Yep, that's what every drag racer tells me. It's all about the people. It's like one big family for drag racing.
It truly is. I mean, it's funny. I mean, I have closer friends because of drag racing than I do family, I guess.
You need a part for your car when you're racing, and someone's willing to give you a part off their car.
Yeah, give you parts off of your car. I mean, like during drag, we broke down in the middle of nowhere, and we'll have people giving us tools, you name it, and it's just amazing that people just so willing to help, and it's cool. I mean, it's a good feeling. It lets you see that there's some good folks out there.
Yep. So now, just you and your son are the crew for the car.
Yeah, because I never have to second guess or worry because Joey's always part of the car, so he's done it since he was little at this point, so he can go back there and work on it no different than me, and I don't ever have to worry about it not being right, or I don't have to go back and show him how to do something because he's done it for so long.
Right. So at what age did he start working on cars?
I would say probably 11, 12 years old, I would guess. I know we won one of the drag weeks when he was 14, I believe. I think was the first time that we, or I shouldn't say won, we were in the top three. I think we were third overall out of all the classes, which is as good as winning in that type of racing. And to do it with someone of, basically he was just a young kid at that point,
right,
was quite an accomplishment, I thought.
Yeah. Now, for you, do you have any drag races at all that were like inspired you, like whether it's local track drivers or NHRA, whatever?
I think it was, I got interested like when they started with the fastest street car thing. I can't say one driver specifically. It was more of that group of that type of racing that really interests me the most. And obviously it has gone to, extremes, of course, but that's kind of how we ended up finding our way into the drag week type racing, is because it was the next thing after the fastest street car stuff.
Now, when you get out there and race on the drag strip, do you have any pre-race rituals or superstitions when you're out there?
I don't. I do like to get in my car early. Everyone always gives me a hard time because I'll go climb in the car and just sit there and just mellow out, chill out, and, so I'm ready. So I'm not rushing to get in the car and get ready. So I'll get in the car and just take it easy and relax. More than anything, it's just something I've always done, and everyone always gives me a hard time. They'll walk by and say, "I can't believe you're sitting in there," but it's just something I've always done. Calms me down, I guess.
Now, throughout the years of racing, have you had any accidents or close calls?
Yeah, we've had a couple. I wrecked the car racing PSCA. I don't even remember what year. We went off the end of the track and into the nets and tore up the car pretty good. Beyond that, it's just been, the car getting loose and things like that over the years. We've had some fires that have been pretty damaging to the car, more so. So that's probably scarier than the wrecking or the close calls. The fires, by far, the worst thing that we've encountered racing. The only thing that even to this day still bothers me, it's one of those things that when it happens and you're strapped in that car with all safety gear, all you want to do is get out of the car. It's not as as quick as you want it to be, no matter how fast you get out.
Now, what was the fire from the nitrous?
No, both times I had a fire. We have carbon brakes on the car, and we used to have the vent out of the fuel cell. It vented right above the rear end, and during shutdown, the one time fuel must have came out the vent, and on the carbon brakes, they glow red when you're on the brakes, and it ignited underneath the car, and then, of course, it just progressed from there. It didn't take that much, but once you start burning the carbon fiber and things like that, the fires react pretty quick. And that was actually at a local race we did that. And then the other time we were down in Houston and we had the fuel cell cracked. And so when the car left, I filled the trunk area with fuel. When I got on the brakes, the fuel came up and it went down the ballistic tube of the drive shaft and actually came in the car. And at some point, it ignited when it came into the car. So the fire came into the passenger compartment. And I remember looking in the mirror and I could see the flames in the rear view mirror. So I looked back, I think, to see if the chutes were out, and the fire was in the car. So I actually, I opened the door and I jumped out the car as the car was going down track. And the car kept going, and I got out with, I didn't get burned or anything. I didn't even realize that the fire had got like my pants and gloves till the next weekend. We were racing in Vegas, and I'm going through tech, and they caught it doing the tech inspection. So the adrenaline gets you going. That I didn't even have any clue that it had burned the glove or my pant leg.
Wow, that's wild.
It was just definitely it gets your attention. I can tell you that.
Well, knock on wood, you won't have any more accidents.
Yes, sir. It's just that it's one of those things. I mean, you make enough passes, things happen. I mean, no matter how hard you try to prevent them, it's just one of those things. The averages, I guess you could say. Eventually, you're going to have something happen. Hopefully, your safety equipment is up to, spec and that kind of thing, and just, hope for the best.
Now, you live in Colorado, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, are there a lot of drag race tracks out there?
We have two main tracks. We have a track south of us about an hour. It's Pueblo Motorsports Park. And that track we grew up going to from, young or kids when I was able to drive down there and things like that. And then, of course, we have Bandimere, which is, a state-of-the-art facility.
Right.
Which, most everyone's familiar with Bandimere more so than anything because they host like an NHRA, the Mile High Nationals.
Yep.
So it's, and it's a hell of a facility. I mean, we've raced a ton of places, and the facilities, it's a beautiful place, well kept, well maintained. So it's no complaints to ever go there.
So now, what are some of your favorite tracks?
Tulsa has always been my favorite track because it's the first time I made a 6-second pass, first time I went 200 miles an hour. So it's kind of a favorite because of that. Love racing in Vegas. Vegas track is always, I probably have more passes in Vegas than any track anywhere. And then last couple years ago, we raced at Bristol, and that track was just, it's incredible, just beautiful. It's got a rival Bandimere as far as, just the outdoors. It's just an incredible place.
Now, you prefer quarter mile or 8 mile racing?
I've always raced quarter mile. Over the years, as the cars have got faster, the 8th mile I lean towards eighth mile. The biggest thing is eighth mile. It's quick. If you get behind, you're not going to drive around the guy in most cases. So, it's easier on parts, and it's just all around for the speeds the cars go. It feels better. I mean, my car runs right around 170 in the eighth, which is great. But when you're running out a quarter mile and it's 210 miles an hour, I mean, Chevrolet never intended that car to do that. The car definitely, it drives good, but it's definitely not stable at that speed.
Now, what kind of tires do you run? You use Hoosiers?
We run the Hoosier tire. Had the best luck with them. We used to run their DOT tire, their QuickTime Pro, and they quit making it. But that tire was the best tire out there. I mean, that car, the fastest I ever went was on that tire, even versus their slick. It was a great tire at the time, but they did away with making it. They didn't, I guess, have enough people buying them.
Now, how about as far as your fire safety equipment? From where do you get all that from?
Safety equipment, everything Stroud, my driving suit, my parachutes, the fire system's a Colt fire system. The Hans is Simpson, my helmet's a Simpson. But and it's pretty much split up between them and Stroud as far as the equipment goes.
All right. Now, throughout your racing career, have you reached any milestones?
Honestly, the 6 second 200 mile an hour in that car was probably my biggest thing I ever wanted to do. I mean, it's a still bodied car, exactly how Chevrolet, the body and everything is exactly how it rolled off the assembly line. And the car is all steel. It's 3,800 pounds. So it's a big deal to go that fast at that weight. So I would say that's probably the first one. The second one was the race at the U.S. Nationals, which we were invited to do last year. And that was like, who invites a bunch of streetcar guys to the U.S. Nationals?
Right.
But they did, and that's quite the feeling to be out there and making a pass. And the best part was like to see the top fuel drivers out there watching us go out there, and they were checking us out. So it was a pretty cool feeling.
Now, how did you run at the Nationals?
Well, we actually made one pass, and then they had a bad wreck in Pro Mod, along with some rain, and that was all the pass we got to make for the week we were there. And it just was a matter of circumstance.
Yep.
But, hopefully maybe they'll have us back one of these days and go back out there and actually put on a good show where we can make multiple passes.
Now, as far as the sport of drag racing goes, do you have anything on a bucket list that you still would like to do in drag racing?
I would like to have a lightweight car to do drag week, something where we're not hindered by the weight of what we show up with. I stuck to having a real car, but basically you get passed up by the guys that, build a car to fit the rules, which I can't fault them. It's my own stubbornness, but I would like to, build a lightweight car and just see how fast we can go. See if we could make that 5 second pass with what our combination that we have now, because we make a ton of power, but with the weight, it doesn't always show.
Right. Now, what do you love most about drag racing?
Myself, the burnouts are probably my favorite part of the run. I don't know what it is, but I enjoy the burnout, probably the best part. The car leaving and the acceleration and things like that I enjoy as well, but probably the burnout is my favorite part.
Now, what do you hate most about drag racing?
You know, I would say racing in the heat, because we're sitting in, we're in these hot driving suits. So that's probably the number one thing. Or events where you go back to back, because the cars, people a lot of time will hear street cars, so we don't necessarily get the time allowed for the cars that we necessarily need. So that's tough, but the heat's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, then it
just
gets
wears you down.
Yeah, then it gets even worse when you have someone get oil down and you're stuck there waiting and waiting and waiting.
Yes, yeah, and if you're around the corner and you can't tell or something, and you're sitting there and wondering, well, what the heck's going on?
Yeah, sitting in that fire, roasting in that fire suit, waiting and waiting.
Yeah, it's part of it. I mean, it's all part of it.
Now, if you could have the fans remember one thing about you, what would that one thing be that you would like them to remember about you as a racer?
Probably that we raced a real 56 Chevy.
Now, do you have any sponsorship at all?
A lot of the vendors help us a ton with between parts and discounts on pricing. So I mean, we have a lot of people that have been really good to us. So yes, we do. A lot of people assume sponsorship a lot of time is money based, but between parts and the helping on the phone, taking calls at all hours of the day, night when you're racing, that's so important to the program. And a lot of folks forget, that's like sponsorship, or it is sponsorship in my mind, because these folks don't have to go out of their way to do it.
Right.
And they do. So we appreciate it.
Yep. Now, does it take a lot of preparation to get this car ready for a weekend of drag racing?
Yeah, I mean, if we're racing like a drag week event, it'll usually take us 2 to 3 weeks to get the car prepped, to make sure we go over it basically from front to back. Just because besides the racing, we got to make it so it's going to drive down the highway without any issues as well. A lot of the stuff that you would never experience drag racing, you could race for years and never have to maintain things. Whereas a car that we, put 1,000 to 1,500 miles on a week, there's a lot of variables there that you have to make sure don't come back and haunt you, when you're traveling from track to track.
All right, now I'm gonna ask you a few fun questions here.
Okay.
Outside of drag racing, do you have any other hobbies?
No, we really don't. I mean, we enjoy. We used to, like in the wintertime, we do a lot with slot cars, and we have RC cars. But over the years, the drag racing has kind of kept us so busy that we don't even spend time doing that anymore.
All right, now throughout your racing career, have you won any plaques or trophies, anything like that?
When we raced PSCA, we ran Heavy Street. We won 2 championships there. I think the first year we raced, we won 6 of the 8 races. Set low ET, high mile an hour at I think every race. Drag week, we've finished in the top 3. I think I have three guitars, so which is a big accomplishment. We've won our class in drag week. So overall, I mean, we've had a fair share of stuff we've accomplished over the years.
Okay, so now Joe, if you were able to, hit a time travel machine and go backwards in time, would you do anything differently with the drag racing career?
No, I don't believe so. I mean, everything, we've been very fortunate how we've done everything, and, good or bad, I don't think we change anything.
Now, if you and the wife have time to go on a vacation, you have a favorite vacation getaway?
We'll either go to, we like going to California. We enjoy, amusement parks, so we'll go to Disneyland and just be tourists, I guess you could say. Do touristy things. I mean, we do go to Vegas, but it seems like that's these short vacations. We'll do that, usually a couple times a year to get away, but that's usually more of a rushing type thing versus a relaxing thing.
Right. All right. Next question is, what is your favorite food you like to eat?
Steak.
Now, does your wife cook?
Anything? She does.
So, what's your favorite dish that your wife makes?
She makes macaroni and cheese and pork chops.
Now, what were you gonna say? You were saying steak and anything. We'll finish that.
Anything meat. Meat and potatoes. I'm a meat and potatoes guy.
All right. What's your favorite beverage?
Probably sweet tea.
Now, do you drink alcohol?
I do from time to time. Not a lot, but I do.
You have any favorite?
Margarita is my go-to drink, I guess you could say. Usually because of racing all over, we always end up with some moonshine, and that's probably my favorite, depending on where it comes from. But that's here and there, so you don't always have that in your cabinet.
All right. Now, do you have a favorite movie of all time?
No, I can't say I do.
Any favorite type of movie? What you like? Action, comedy, suspense, anything?
Yeah, I mean, I like probably all of what you just said. It just, it depends. If it could be an action, movie, and if the people make me laugh, I'm good.
Yeah. All right. What's your favorite type of music?
Now that one, I can listen to anything and everything. Everyone, if they're riding in the truck, like if we're going racing or something, they just shake their head because you name it, it is on my phone. And I mean, it's across the board, and people say, there's no way. I said, trust me, I listen to everything, so I don't have a specific one type of genre over another that I'll listen to more.
Yeah, it's good to have open mind in different types of music.
No, I can. That's one thing. I mean, I enjoy it all.
All right. Now, when you were a kid growing up, Joe, did you have a favorite cartoon to watch?
Maybe Bugs Bunny. I don't remember. Mr. Gadget, I do remember that.
Yep.
But beyond that, no. I mean, I know we watched cartoons as kids, but to think back now, I don't remember if I enjoyed one over the other, to be honest.
All right. Now, going back to the racetrack now, can you think about one of your most embarrassing moments out there when you were in the car out on the starting line?
No, not on the starting line.
Okay.
I think my most embarrassing moment would probably be in the pits, I would guess.
What happened?
The first time we ran the car with nitrous was actually in Arizona. And I remember we were testing the nitrous, and the car was on the ground, which never should be done. And we were testing it, and I remember the car launched forward, and I barely got the brake quick enough to not run over the front clip of the car.
Wow.
And that it was just stupidity. on my part. There's nothing better. But I do remember that, and I think that was the first time we were going to use the nitrous back when we were still racing PSCA. But beyond that, that's one of the ones that will stick in my mind. I mean, I can't believe I did it, even talking about it. But that was just dumb on my part.
Now, do you have a biggest pet peeve?
As far as at the drag strip?
Drag strip and live, either way, whatever.
Yeah, my biggest thing is people not being on time. I run a business, and, the biggest thing to me is be on time. If you can be 5 minutes late, you can be 5 minutes early. So I would say being on time is my biggest thing. And if someone makes me late, that drives me nuts. If I tell someone I'll be there and then I'm late because of something outside of my control, that would probably be my biggest complaint.
Now, in the pit area, you get a lot of kids. You throw kids in the car and let them sit there and stuff like that.
We do. I enjoy people. So whether it's kids, a lot of times we've done some events like Tri-5 Nationals, and we'll actually set up a little table and cartoons by Mikey. He drew this really cool picture of my car, because he always makes it real animated. So the car looks like it's a cartoon, and we had him design a picture, and then we'll have coloring contests, and we'll get the kids over there coloring, and then we'll send them shirts once we get back from the event.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
It's fun. And the kids love, because it works good for the kids that are too young to really understand the racing, but they like the color. And then the older kids, they want to make it real pretty, the picture. They're obviously more into it. So, it covers a broad age range.
Right.
But the biggest thing, I always try to talk with everyone, no matter how busy or hectic or frustrated, because a lot of times I know over the years, even to this day, I'll walk by someone's pit, and I get being busy and all that, but it's far and few between the people that will talk with you, and that's one of my biggest things, and I always try to talk to people, answer questions and things like that. I may not have the best day, but I always try to do that because I think it's important. Because we're there. They pay money to come and watch us, the racers, and it doesn't hurt to take a couple minutes or whatever, just to, smile, say hi, or whatever. That's a big thing I try to make a point to do always.
Oh, yeah. For some of these kids, that's a memory of a lifetime for them.
And it's and over the years, some of the stuff we've done over the years, it's hard for me to try to get used to. People come and they want you to sign something or want to take a picture with you. It's always odd to me, and I've got better at it. But it's like we're all just into cars just the same. I always tell them I'm no one special. I just like cars just like you, But everyone, people like taking the picture and things like that, and
yeah,
that's the only thing it's hard to get used to, I guess.
So now, if people want to find, schedule what you're going to be doing, or what's the best way to Joe Barry Racing page on Facebook?
They could go to Joe Barry 56 Chevy, which is actually the cars page. Recently, I have my own Facebook, which is just Joe Barry, but the Joe Barry 56 Chevy's related to just the car, nothing else, none of my personal views on life. So, if they just want car stuff, that's the best place to go, or go to the website when we actually have events scheduled. JoeBarryMotorsports.com. We'll post information, what we're doing, the events we're doing, and then we'll post stuff when we get done, you know, keep people updated on how we did or didn't do and things like that.
So what kind of advice would you give someone that might be listening to an interview and thinking about, starting drag racing? What kind of advice would you give?
You know, the biggest thing with drag racing is try to make a plan before you go and execute it. So plan on a car, do everything based on your budget. So many folks will get started on a project, and I know this from doing it myself. It's easy to make changes as you're doing it, and it takes forever to get a car completed or to get finished. So, you know, make a plan and do your best to stick to it without making changes so you can get out and enjoy it. And then once you're out racing, it's easy to make the changes, or easier to make the changes. But people lose motivation when the car sits in a garage for 3-4 years or whatever to get it done.
All right. Now, you have any final words or thank yous before we close?
I appreciate all the folks that help us very much, and I don't want to start trying to name everyone off, because it's too easy if I forget someone, not because they aren't important, but I'm old and my memory doesn't always work well. So if they've been part of it, they know how much I appreciate it. We support them. We have stickers on the car for them. And my family and friends that are always there for me, I appreciate it and thank them very much. And I thank you for taking your time out to interview me.
Oh, no problem. I like to support all drag racers as best I can. I don't care if you're a little guy, a big guy, whatever. It don't matter to me.
No, I appreciate it very much.
No problem. I hope you had fun.
Thank you very much.
Okay, you have a great night.
Okay, you too, sir.
And hopefully you'll get back out there on the track soon.
Yes, I'm hoping.
Yeah. All right, you have a great night, Joe.
Okay, you take care.
Bye-bye.